Everything is social right now. We know what's happening within the moment because of TikTok and other social platforms. So those partnerships will be crucial to that location-based first-party data targeting. And I think brands are excited for that.
Welcome to Unlocking Retail Media, the podcast where we explore the evolving world of retail media from data strategy to monetization and everything in between. This is where we break down how retailers can build smarter, data-driven media networks by aligning with what brands truly need, from scalable ad solutions and meaningful metrics to cross-channel attribution and programmatic strategy. Welcome to Unlocking Retail Media. Today, I'm really excited to have somebody who I think has one of the most interesting seats in the retail media landscape, because she sits between the brand, the retailer, and the data. Elizabeth Neubauer-Donovan is the EVP and Global Head of Retail and Commerce Media Networks at Acxiom. Acxiom has been in the data and identity business forever, before retail media was even a term anyone was using. And then you put that inside Omnicom, which is working with some of the biggest brands in the world. So Elizabeth kind of gets to sit in this spot where she's seeing what the brands actually want, what the data actually enables, and how retail media networks actually need to show up to make it all work. That perspective is really valuable right now because the industry is at this interesting moment where it's not enough to just launch a network anymore. Brands are asking harder questions, measurement's still kind of messy, but the data layer is where this all kind of gets decided. So we're going to dig into all of that, what brands are actually asking for, where the data and identity piece fits in, what the agency role actually looks like in retail media today, and where this is all headed. Elizabeth, really glad to have you on. Thanks for doing this.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, James. Let's dive in.
And we both just turned our fans off for the audio. Yeah. So we're now gonna suffer in heat together. I'm in North Carolina where it's always 94 degrees, but still a little toasty.
That's goals for me. My sister actually just moved to South Carolina, Bluffton area. It's beautiful.
Nice. Come on down to Raleigh sometime. We'll show you around.
Oh, Raleigh's beautiful too.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a Long Islander, so I'm close to the beach and close enough to the Manhattan to enjoy both worlds.
Yeah, we're close to the beach. We're only about an hour and a half away from Manhattan, but you have to get in a plane and then you get there.
Yes, I'm taking a train. Planes, trains, and automobiles. There we go. Yeah,
exactly. So before we dive in, give us like the quick version. Give us a little bit about Acxiom, the role, your role there, and what kind of brought you here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people ask me this all the time. How come you left the brand side or the publishing side to go agency side? And when this opportunity came to light about a little over a year and a half ago, a dear friend of mine that I'm sure most people know, Amy Owen, she's been my partner on many, many accounts over the years, whether it was my job at AccuWeather or Marriott. So we've collaborated. So she said, there's the perfect job for you, Elizabeth. You're sitting at what you love, data, technology, but you'll be running retail and commerce for the entire ecosystem here and the brands that we work on. And I said, wow, sounds amazing. Let me know more. And so I met the team, fell in love. I work for Sean Muzzy. He's absolutely incredible. We're at a very unique point here within Acxiom, and being now at the largest global ad agency, Omnicom, we're able to service our clients from that end-to-end commerce experience. So sitting within the data arm of Acxiom is why we're very well positioned to win. With first-party data, with the solutions that we're driving in market, but also I'm bringing in the best skills and people within the ecosystem and outside of the ecosystem, really those builders of the networks from all different versions and technology partners to really curate a team that goes out to market to support the brands. It's exciting for me to work across multiple brands and helping them fuel top-line revenue. Whereas in my past life, I've only worked for one brand at a time. So this has been such an amazing opportunity to really look under the hood and support the industry.
And tell me about, and so like the Acxiom side of it, like I'm familiar with Acxiom because I, came from more traditional ad tech. Acxiom's been around a long time. I think a lot of people in retail media probably aren't as familiar with the name, right? Like if they're coming from a, retailer background, right? Like this is probably a new thing to them. So where does Acxiom kind of sit in the ecosystem?
Well, Acxiom is a 60-year-old company, right?
I didn't know it was that old. I thought it was like 20 years old.
No, they have an amazing history of working with 93% populace of all brands across the industry, even 7 out of 10 financial companies. So the most highly regarded, most secure data we are responsible for, whether that be identity, real ID, data, monetization, curation. Yeah, we have been doing this a very long time, and it's so crucial for my division now to really be supporting and sitting within the growth area of the company.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So like you're at Acxiom, it's part of Omnicom. You're kind of you're kind of sitting between a lot of these pieces, right? The brands going through the agency, the data layer, the retail media networks. What's kind of unique about where you're sitting?
I get the foundation, right? We all know that what makes commerce and retail media networks focus and drive revenue is through their loyalty programs, first party data solutions. So sitting at Acxiom is just a no-brainer of how we support that from the beginning. But my group also is responsible for the building of media networks and also the management in-house, plus data monetization. So we're really servicing that end-to-end solution, and now sitting in the larger organization of Omnicom, helping service our clients and connecting them to the right partners, whether they need clean room solutions or technology advancement. We're really in a strong position to win for our clients and have them have that end-to-end experience with measurement and just the best identity for their networks.
Yeah, I mean, because really it comes down to it when whenever we're talking to a retail media network or the new commerce media networks, it's kind of like the one non-negotiable is that you have to have good first-party data. I was going to say, lots of retailers they have it, but they don't know what to do with it, right? They don't know how to leverage it.
For example, I came from Marriott. I built their media network through COVID and beyond. And what I've loved about working, we were the first travel media network to come into the space, right? And then quick follow was United and these other great travel and hospitality companies. And the wonderful thing about that is because you'll have that one-on-one experience. So whether you're in a flight, you'll have that undivided attention where you can really capture your audience and make sure that you're driving the right outcomes if your data is correct. So it's been really exciting for us to work across the industry in all the verticals. For example, we are working with Reach TV and connecting their travel 360 journey through data. And it's very exciting. We struck that partnership with them right before the new year.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That makes a lot of sense. When you think about the first party data, like retailers obviously have, pretty good valuable first party data. Where are the cases where, the brand data is really valuable or this external data, right? Like the AccuWeather data is really valuable? Because I kind of think, like an on-site, right? If you're doing you're doing promoted listings on a search, it's like you pretty much, I wouldn't search for ketchup. Like I'm going to buy ketchup, but where, do you think it's a lot more on the offsite? Do you think it's still on site, but maybe in the more display native of offsite, or kind of where do you see the highest value for brands?
Well, I see it on site and offsite. So you want to make sure, for example, if you're working on a brand that's in the travel space, you have to know your customer. You don't want to show them the wrong ad while they're through that journey. So you have to ensure that it's enhancing their experience, right? As you said, I'm going to buy ketchup. Well, I'm not going to, perhaps show a KFC advertisement in the Ritz-Carlton, perhaps, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. But you want to tailor the experience for on-site for the customer that through that first-party data. And then in regards to off-site, sitting within the largest global ad agency, we're able to tailor not only brands, but connect them through clean rooms as well as activation for offsite. And that's really tells the story of, you're making top line revenue, but you're hitting audiences, especially through Acxiom enhancements. We have many partners that there are brands that, may not have a big enough audience. So they're collaborating their data, or we're adding other partners to that so they could have a stronger offsite presence.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this kind of leads into something else I wanted to talk about, which is really the agency role in retail media, which I think is kind of changing a lot, right? It's I think it used to be pretty straightforward. You're like, well, the agency's, buying from me, right? If I'm running a retail media network. But I think with everything you're describing is a lot more around, everything from orchestration to facilitating offsite buys. Like, can you give me a little bit more about how do you think that agency role is changing in retail media?
Especially for my role, it didn't exist before I got here. I have a unique perspective and, the support of our leadership to really think about what our brands need, right? We're here to service them. The model, because retail and commerce media is just exploding. There's over 240 media networks. There are a few in verticals that we're working on right now are yet to be announced. So there are more verticals coming. So that in itself is challenging for the brands who are out there trying to get those dollars. And then, just the agencies themselves having to collaborate what is the best way forward. So I think why my organization is so important, because it connects that end-to-end experience, like you said, but we're really looking at from the buy and sell lens, but beyond that, the curation of the data, helping with the technology solutions. A lot of brands don't want to bring that in-house because that's not their main line of revenue.
Right.
Whether it's, a grocery. So they're relying on their agency partners to kind of bring that in-house to support the overall customer journey where they might not be able to scale or hire those large teams.
Yeah, it's kind of a good middle ground too, for you're not totally outsourcing it. You're actually in-housing it with a partner, right? It's kind of like similar to the Kevel pitch in a way, where we're we're not, it's not totally outsourced, but but you get to own it. But you're going to need some help. You're not going to run the thing yourself.
I think partnerships are so crucial because you don't want to create your own tech from the brand side. In certain cases, it just will cost millions, if not billions of dollars in some infrastructure. So depending how large your organization is. So choosing the right partners like Acxiom, like Omnicom to support that. And, with partnering with us comes with a depth and breadth of partners that we trust and rely on. My group itself does a quarterly review of all our partnerships to help, because the media networks are so nuanced. They have different channels, and what works for one might not work for others. I see many times that people are, using a playbook from another media network, but that might not work for them.
Right.
Based on either the restrictions they have, the stakeholders, the goals that they have as a company in itself. So what works for one might not work for the other.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, and that's kind of the fun thing about retail media compared to the publishing business, the traditional ad tech was so much more of, hey, it's pretty much the same for just about everybody. You've got websites and you're putting ads on it. And in retail, it really does, you can have such a different, where you have like a Home Depot where there's not a big loyalty program and there's a ton of, purchases in store, then you can have somebody like a Costco where everything is, every single purchase because it's membership based, right? And so all these different, differences between each retailer there are a lot of fun.
It is fun, and it keeps the industry moving and growing, especially with AI and curation and first party data. I think that while people are nervous about that word, I think we should all be embracing, especially retail and commerce. And if the brand doesn't have a strategy yet, they should think about where their place is within their organization, because some people obviously they want to put ads on their pages, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know which technology partners to utilize. And that's crucial for the success of top line revenue. And the partners that you choose will, either make or break your experience.
Yeah. So I think we're both in the business of creating more retail media networks, right? And I think you hear about new ones every day. You're getting, probably 50 this year. There's, commerce media, retail media. How are brands kind of dealing with and thinking about this kind of, explosion of new commerce media networks?
I love that question, because what we're going to be seeing more of is more collaborations of the networks, whether that's through third-party connections and technology partners connecting them, or the first-party data being conjoined together. So I think that's something you'll see. But I think we'll also see revenue of ad extension. I think that, maybe the travel media networks will say, let's build an ecosystem where if I'm low on digital out of home, we'll do a rev share. We're not there yet, but that's where we're going. And I think that's going to be a way where I think the agencies and the Axioms of the world are going to play a big part of that. I don't like to call it consolidation, but also call it collaboration. And I recently said that in the Drum interview. We love to use a lot of buzzwords, but I think it's more of partnerships. And, this is what happens. This is what makes the industry move forward and makes our lives have more standardization.
Yeah. No, I totally think we're seeing the same thing where it's just if there's like retailers that can join together, it's going to work better for the brands. It's going to be a little more standardized. And I do think the benefit is unlike in the ad network days, you're not being commoditized because you still own your first party data and you still have a physical store, you have a loyalty program, you have all these assets where you're not kind of just being commoditized away. So you can really do something interesting where you're kind of, an alliance, collaboration versus network kind of play.
I love what Parbinder from CBS did. He did a partnership with Reddit.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like-minded or similar retailers. They could be partners that are going to be extension of their solution or helping to enhance the customer experience. So I really was happy when I saw that early in the year because I think that's the first step of these partnerships.
Yeah, I think Reddit is it's still kind of an underserved part of the ad market. So there's a lot of value. I think there's still a lot of value to be found in Reddit. So I think you'll see more retailers doing that. But I 100% agree. It was
I'd love to see some social media platforms like TikTok connect with, a travel company. I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah. So what else, when you think about brands, so brands have, obviously there's kind of the fragmentation piece, but what are the other things brands are looking for, right? Because a lot of people we have listened to this are, running a retail media network or launching a retail media network. And at the end of the day, it's only successful if the brands want to spend money there. So what are the top things you're hearing from brands about, what they want back from a retail media network?
So of course they want measurement. They want to make sure, retail media networks are set up for measurement because of the brands that are sold within. So I'd like to reset for people because sometimes people are what's the difference between retail and commerce media networks? So I'm Elizabeth giving 101 class, but retail media networks are selling things within their stores and their properties where commerce media networks are not selling anything, but they have that first party data to drive advertisers to want to run on their owned and operated. So they're both unique and they both have great first party data. So first thing they need to do is make sure that they get their data right so that they could talk to their customer in the right way. And there are so many other messagings that are going on. So from the data, you have to look at the technology. So you have your data all set up, you're running the right tech, you're making sure that these ads I don't want to see the same ad 100 times. You don't want it to be disruptive to the brand experience because then you'll lose a loyal member. So I always like to say, what's your go-to-market strategy and how are you enhancing the customer? Because without those two things, you're not going to do well off the bat, and then you're not going to see advertising dollars. So brands want to partner and be on media networks where they know that they're going to be heard, there's emotion, and they're targeted correctly.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see a KFC ad while my plane is taking off. Because then I'm just gonna be thinking about that I'm hungry and I'm gonna eat this airplane food instead of some fried chicken. So yeah, there's definitely brand risk in getting it wrong. So I think this is good. This is thinking about the retail media versus commerce, right? Because a lot of people I think don't fully understand the distinction. But I 100% agree with you that it's we think about it the same way, which is if if it's all endemic, if it's I'm selling products that I'm already selling for you, but I'm going to help you sell more of them. When you think about the commerce side, especially with the Marriott experience, who are the perfect brands for those kind of networks, right? If I'm out there starting a new hotel or airline or one of these other different commerce media networks, who should I be going after?
You have to go after the endemics of that whole travel journey. So do you need an Uber to get to the airport? That's a clear and easy connection. And many of the travel media networks have tier one partnerships. They're aligned to an airline. They're aligned to, a rental car. So, yeah, just like the retail media networks, the commerce, travel, financial media networks have those partners that they could enhance and collaborate more through advertising, and smarter that is. But as a customer, so when I think about myself as a customer, what do I like to see? Well, Elizabeth travels differently as a mother compared to a business traveler, or when I'm just traveling with my husband. So when I think of how I could smartly target and enhance that experience, imagine being on a flight and 5 women have booked a ticket together and they're going to a bachelorette party. Wouldn't it be nice to surprise and delight them with a bottle of champagne? So I think there's so much more than advertising. You can do experiential opportunities through that journey, whether, you're traveling, the Knicks are playing, and maybe you want to go to a pre-party. Maybe there is, you want to make sure they're getting places safely. So an Uber ad or a Lyft ad would be perfect in that situation. So think about what events go on within travel and hospitality. There's so many conferences. Even so, I went to a conference earlier in the year. There were ads in the bathroom. That was a first, but a little risky. I liked it though, because it reminded me, and I thought of that. So, and here we are talking about it months later.
It's funny. I'm always impressed when I see actually well run targeted ads, and it's like I think somebody who does this really well is the Vegas airport. They just, whenever that big show is, they do a good job of selling it out. So it's you're coming into Shop Talk and there'll just be a giant Shopify banner. And I'm like, this can't be what normally is run in an airport, right? Shopify can't be the target, buyer for these airport ads, or Datadog when you're going to an AWS conference. And so I think they always do a really good job of that. Obviously that's pretty, easy targeting, right? It's what conferences is in town that week. But I think the same
application, right? So when you're thinking about not even travel, you're thinking about localized partners. So Ticketmaster perhaps, and Live Nation, if they have advertising solutions, what is local, right?
Right.
What restaurants are nearby, so it's by location, it's by the customer experience and what they're doing. So that lifestyle. So it's really the journey of the customer, and that through your first party data.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I love the champagne idea is great because it reminds me of, I think something we're starting to see more in retail is this full size sampling, where it's kind of okay, you do an Uber Eats order and, based on targeting, it's let's go ahead and just send them a bag of the new Doritos, right? It's not a sample bag. It's just the full bag, right? But we think it's worth it because of how we've done targeting. That'd be a great, for whoever the champagne partner is for Delta, right? And you're okay, Delta is part of this champagne partnership, right? Anybody who's on their honeymoon is going to get a free bottle of your champagne, on the flight, right? It's look, that's a great, branding opportunity, right? That today is just being, most of the champagne, you don't even see the name of it because they just pour it in that little plastic cup and give it to you,
For sure. And when you're thinking about those experiential moments, what's happening? Everything is social right now. We know what's happening within the moment because of TikTok and other social platforms. So those partnerships will be crucial to that location-based first-party data targeting. And I think brands are excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah. All it takes is a couple of people, one person posting about their free champagne on Delta, and it's great. Takes off, and then that's this viral moment for both people, and sure pays for all the free champagne they gave away along the way.
Champagne, beauty, free concert tickets, because we know your location. So I think that's the future. More experiential, more social, and collaboration.
Yeah. So thinking about, I know we've been talking a lot about travel. So how do you think about this globally, right? Because you're not looking at this just from a U.S. basis. What do you kind of see differently in the U.S. versus the rest of the world in retail media, commerce media?
I think a lot more technology-driven solutions. I think, when we're thinking about retail media, they're very much into, chats and LLMs and other solutions. So it's coming here. And I think a lot of what I said is, being done, but also being part of Acxiom, we have to make sure, all these regulatory and privacy compliance, it is different based on location. So we're very focused on making sure we're up to date with everything that needs to happen as we're planning or, strategizing across these markets.
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a privacy and legal team over there.
Yeah. They've become my best friends.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not.
How do you think about, like if you're a global brand, thinking about all the different opportunities across all the different countries, like is that just a different kind of similar level of fragmentation? Do you think we'll see, cross-market kind of partnerships as well? Or do you think, is it different groups in different countries are buying media and they're not really going to look to buy like a global campaign?
Well, I think it depends on the brand and what the messaging is for those campaigns. Typically, what's trending in one market is very different than another market. Wouldn't it be nice if we just ran one type of creative across everything? That's not how it works.
Yeah.
That would be boring for all of us.
What are you like personally most excited to kind of dig into in the next 12 months?
Personally or work related?
Well, now I'm interested in both.
Okay. Well, it is summertime and we're already planning for back to school and those, revenue dollars. So I'm really excited about just making sure that our clients are having that end-to-end experience through whether it's supporting them through the data, the technology. I'm excited personally within the organization to begin collaborating with our other partners across Omnicom. So that's really exciting. There's a lot of opportunity and it's good for business. And I think it's good for the industry because Acxiom is powering and supporting many of the brands across Omnicom. And I'm excited to meet all the people. There's so many more people to meet. I'm a people lover. So a lot more collaboration to be had.
Awesome. And then last is we like to do this for, a lot of the people listening are on the, retailer side. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a retailer who's kind of at the beginning of this, how do we figure out our first party data journey and, network?
This is my favorite question. And you're coming from the lens, and I kind of touched on it earlier in our conversation, but you're working for a highly matrixed organization or brand. There are so many different teams involved across the channels that you'd like to activate on. And on top of that, there are strategy and data and technology teams. It has to roll up from the top and be an initiative across the company. Because if it's not, and it's not, you don't have that stakeholder alignment, you'll be wasting a lot of time back and forth. And I think the best thing you can do is to make sure it's coming and all the stakeholders are aligned across the organization to make it more of a collaborative, not one team can solve this. You'll see a lot of reorgs within these brands saying, oh, you should run marketing and the media network should sit together, or you're constantly seeing those reorgs happening in the last 5 years. I think just people who are focused on making the brand better and making the experience better should just get in the room and collaborate. It's not that easy, but you could have us come in and, share on our best practices, and that would make your life easier. But I think that stakeholder alignment is key, where you're going to be spinning your wheels for several years.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I think I noticed this the other day when we work with a bunch of retailers where the ones who are the most successful are usually the ones that have some sort of direct line to the CEO. Right. And sometimes sometimes it's through a CMO or it's through somebody else, but where the CEO is like taking a direct interest in this is going to work. Like, and then because that, something's always going to block success along the way in these big organizations, but you have to have, if the guy on top or gal on top, like once it's done, then you can tend to get there.
And I also think it comes from the CEO, but also the connection of teams. If you have a digital leader who's running merchandising, who does not want advertisements on certain channels, have that discussion from the beginning instead of don't fight over inventory. Say, what is going to make this customer experience better? And that could be, okay, we'll run one ad, one marketing, and then our credit card. You know, you don't have to take 100% inventory for the media network. And I think that's where people get too caught up, and the brands get, the leaders get too caught up, because there's enough shine for everyone. But the most important person to me is the customer, and keeping that customer.
Yeah. So, I had the exact same conversation with somebody recently where they were talking about, the credit card has to be number one. And I was like, well, we know who already has it. Like, what's the value of when I if I log into Marriott and I see an ad for the credit card I already have, like that's not helpful to anybody. Right. And so there's just,
I think that these are the things that are working themselves out. I think there's a lot of trial and error across all the verticals. And I think this is one of the biggest industries to have grown in such a quick amount of time. Really, it's scheduled to, according to eMarketer, I think, to hit 170 billion in the next year or two. So that's taking over certain channels. I think that's incredible. There's so much to learn and still grow. So I think there's a big opportunity for even like students out coming into the industry and interning, and they should definitely think about being in commerce.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Retail Media. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share this show with your network. We'll be back soon with more insights to help you navigate the future of retail media. See you next time.